coffee, but I can't clear my head from what went down last night. I know we both have our own little ways, but somehow we keep it together. You hear me talk, but you don't hear what I say. I guess it don't even matter. Blue morning, blue day, won't you see things my way? Blue morning, can't you see what your love has done to me? I've always listened to your point of view. My ways I've tried to mend, and I've always been a patient man, but my patience has reached its end. You tell me you're leaving, you tell me goodbye. You say you might send a letter. Well, honey, don't telephone, 'cause I won't be alone. I need someone to make me feel better. those spider planes. And I can see those spider planes across the mud huts of June sleep, through the alleys of quiet city street. We take the staircase to the first floor, turn the key and slowly unlock the door. As the man breathes into his saxophone, and through the walls you hear the city groan. Outside it's America. Outside it's America. America.
What's up, Cyberspace Cadets? That's right, it's Sunday, and you know what that means. It's time for ice cream. And the idea behind ice cream is pretty simple. Most people think that ice cream is, they consider it a treat. And to me, a treat is talking to somebody that I'm interested in, somebody I want to know more about. And today's guest is no exception, of course. I met Aspie a while back, and we kind of been bumping into each other on the interwebs past 2 or 3 years, and so I was delighted when he said he would do this. I didn't know if he would entertain us, and I'm glad he is. Ladies and gentlemen, this here is the incredible Aspie. Say, hey, man. We're trying to. They can't hear you say that again.
Oh, you couldn't hear me? This stupid Yeti. I've been good. How y'all all been doing?
Good, man. Just doing our thing here. It's Mother's Day, so it's like I didn't take that into consideration either. And so
me neither. My mother was in there. My dad says, "Oh my gosh, it's Mother's Day," and I'm like, "Oh my god!" Oh, and I was like, "Oh dear." And my mother was in the kitchen. I'm like, "Happy Mother's Day, Mom." She didn't even really care. She's just like, yeah, we all forgot about it. So it's like their anniversary. My mother cared for 2 years, and after that, she's like, you know what? We both forget about it. So it's not really that important.
That's true.
Anymore.
That's true. I hear you, man. So all right. So the way we do this thing is that I'll be asking a series of questions, and just take them wherever you want to go, like we were talking about earlier. If you've chat, if you've got any questions for Aspie, please we'll save them for the end and jot them down and when you'll know it when I get to it. I know Duck Dog Boomer Tech gotta it's not a certified irate show unless it's boomered. We've been pre-boomered, and so I know. I hope the music sounded good coming in, man, because that was a good 3 songs that I popped out there. Brought us back.
What songs were those from? Was that from the 80s or it was from the 70s and 80s?
Yeah, Blue Morning, Blue Day was from the 70s. Dear Prudence was a Beatles cover by Susie and the Banshees, and that was in the 80s. And Bullet the Blue Sky was from the late 80s, almost early 90s. So, yeah.
I do like a lot of I do like a lot of some 70s music, you know, like disco, some 70s
Mm.
rock. Although it was an odd time in music history because everybody was high on like cocaine and stuff. So it was a very interesting time in music history.
Yeah, it was because, and we can go into this in depth in a little bit if you want to, but yeah, I'm down with that because you're absolutely right. It's interesting from a historical perspective how rock and roll and music has changed and all it's taken on as it's grown. So yeah, that's good. We're going to hold that note, and I've got some questions. So let's just go ahead and start with the YouTube stuff. So ask me, how long have you been around YouTube, and what would you say was the main reason, or what would you say was the main reason you decided to, start, broadcasting, get on the other side of the screen, as I like to call it.
I I see. I believe I started my channel around 2016. It was an interesting time, because I was like I was like a sophomore in college, and I can recall it was like it was summertime, and I had started. No, I started out with Steven Crowder because he was like the original guy, and this was at a time when the YouTube algorithm wasn't as screwed up as it is now. So I was getting, so not only was I watching Steven Crowder, but I was being recommended all these other videos by like people like Kraut and T, Naked Ape, and all these other Sargon of Akkad, and all these other big what they were once called skeptic YouTubers, and I really had an interest in this because at the time I had just moved from being one major, just a music major, into being a double major in music and political science.
Mm.
And I found it interesting that these people believed, because because a lot of the stuff which I thought people would never think of, like some of the ideas that come from like feminism and stuff. I always found some of the stuff I thought was so ridiculous at one point that it could never exist. When I found out it did exist, I was just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. But to see these people respond to it, in such a way, and I found it very entertaining. And after a while of watching this, I eventually, hopped on board. I wasn't part of the whole game. I never watched the whole Gamergate thing. All I know about Gamergate is from what I saw from like old like documentary videos about what happened with Anita Sarkeesian, all this stuff. I was never really interested in all that, but I did like the idea of people from different sort of because I was raised as with a sort of right wing ideology. I
Mhm.
was raised to be a conservative because that's one of the most prevalent things when you're coming up from it's called political socialization. One of the main things that causes you to believe, and what you believe is your family. Most people who have one idea, most people who have a certain sort of political ideological bent are usually usually they kind of learn that from their families. So, and I was always, but to see all these people from different ideological backgrounds, left wing, right wing, all coming together to sort of have, to talk about, certain social and political issues, I found it very attractive. And, I think the one stream which I actually really got me into it was a stream where what was his name? Spinosaurus Kin and Naked Ape were talking to each other, and I am there were a whole bunch of big skeptic YouTubers who were a part of this. So I am I was so attracted to this that I decided to to just hop on board. That's pretty much how it started.
Mhm.
You know.
All right. So when it comes to you and your content, what is the idea behind the incredible Aspie persona?
The idea behind the incredible Aspie persona, I was trying to think of something that is sort of unique. My channel name was kind of was in a way sort of inspired by the name of the amazing atheist name, and I thought, and I was starting to think of a name that I could have for my YouTube channel. And originally I had him. It was something like the something outlaw or something, not the rational outlaw, but ideologue. It was another name. I was gonna, make a voice like this, but I decided that wasn't a good idea because, I didn't want to ruin my singing voice. So I decided, that I would, just call my channel The Incredible Aspie because, I'm a somewhat awkward person. I am. But by the way, I am actually mildly autistic. I was diagnosed with it when I was 3. I'm a somewhat awkward person. I can come off in a sort of way which may seem undesirable to people, but overall, I try to keep I'm very blunt. I'm very to the point because I'm not good with nuance. So if I think in a certain way, I'm just going to say it. Also, I don't understand social situations in the same way that a normal person would. So The Incredible Aspie was kind of based off of, my own persona. When I'm doing The Incredible Aspie, I don't really take on a persona. That's just me, But because of my sort of, quirky behavior and whatnot, some people, I thought, some people would, find it enjoyable to watch me in my very awkward sort of way, sort of make YouTube videos because I know I'm not funny I'm never funny on purpose. That's the thing about me. I'm never funny like when I try to be funny. When I try to be funny, it always falls flat. But when I just talk or just act the way I usually do, it makes people laugh, and I get somewhat of a weird enjoyment out of that. I like making people feel good. So.
Right. Yeah, me too, man. I get it.
So I just kind of act the way I usually do on my YouTube videos, and I think a lot of people are attracted to that. So that's how I do it.
So how much of what we see would you say is the real you?
A lot of it. I mean, somewhat in my older YouTube days when I made that video against Green Day and in that choir video, I kind of tried to take on the sort of douchebag persona, which you might see from like a Paul Joseph Watson or a lot of other skeptics. But eventually I sort of looked at that and I was just like, this is just, this isn't me. I'm not an asshole. So I just decided that I would try to calm it down a little bit because I'm actually a really nice person, and I try to be a nice person, I get frustrated somewhat easily in certain situations, but other than that, I try to be as sweet to people as I possibly can. So I decided to I would kind of cool it down a little bit, and I would try to be just a bit more argue more through sort of a logical side rather than douchebag, ugly feminist,
right?
That type of way. It gets old after a while. It really does get old. I mean, I do eventually want to make a video explaining my position on feminism because I never got a shot at that. Because I can remember quite a few years ago, feminism was like the main target. Am I not right?
Yeah, that was a big source of controversy for people, and the tenets of radical or third wave actually feminism was what everybody was going after because it's the equivalent of religious fanaticism from what I've seen, anyway.
Yeah. It's an ideology that a lot of times is not really it's more bent on what they want the world to be rather than what the world actually is. I mean, there's many aspects to feminism which I don't like, such as the biological denialism or the sort of just hypocrisy, the entitlement. But I'd rather not get onto this on this show,
Okay, yeah, I feel you. Yeah, exactly.
I'd rather talk about it on my own channel. But what I can recall, I kind of forgot what I was talking about for a second there. I completely.
About your persona and how much we see as the real you.
I remember now. A lot of what you see is actually me. This is how a lot of how my channel is how I would, somewhat act in real life. I mean, it's a little over exaggerated in the YouTube videos, but it's also sort of my other. It's sorry. It's also my other way of sort of coming. I had completely lost my train of thought. Hold on one second. Yeah, it's exactly how I usually act in public. You know, I try to be. You know, I admit I'm a goofball. I'm a giant goofball in real life. You know, I'm walking because I'm a pattern. Because there's three types of people who have autism. You have the people who see patterns, the people who are really good at literature, and the people who are like really good at I forgot the third one, but mine is patterns. I'm really good at seeing patterns. Like I'll see patterns in like like if you ever see me walk on like tile or over tile or the sidewalk, you will watch me walk over the cracks in a particular way because I'm trying to even out the ways in which I'm on the number of cracks, the the size of the cracks in the ground. You know, I'm one of those people who's like, I for no reason, like even when I eat candy, like Skittles, you say, I don't eat Skittles. I don't just like take a handful and shove it in my mouth. You know, what I'll do a lot of the time is I'll open up the bag and I will eat like, I'll eat them in the orders. I'll eat one of every single color, and then if I get down to a certain level, I will eat all of one color, and then I'll move on to the red, then I'll move on to the orange, then I'll move into the yellow, then the green, and then the purple. I'm a pattern person, and I think that's why I did so well in music. You know, because
Sure.
because music is largely based on patterns and of how pitches are placed, and it's just been something for some reason it was just something that I was naturally good at. Like in high school, I did relatively well in high school. I graduated high school with a 4.0 GPA, and I passed like 4 AP exams. I would have passed the fifth one, but the fifth exam was AP literature, and I had the stomach flu that day. So needless to say, I did not that probably had a large hand in me not passing the test. But either way, it only ended up with me having to take like one more class, but 4 AP tests is good enough.
Yes.
As long I passed the class though. I did do well. I did relatively okay in the class, but when it comes to like the but when it came to music, I did exceptionally well. Like all the AP tests, I got 3 and 4s. On the AP music, I got like I got a 5, which is the highest score you can possibly get. So I did relatively well in AP music. But to finish off on this question, largely what you see on my channel is actually how I act in real life. It might be a little bit of an exaggeration, but that's largely how I act.
Thanks, man. So, all right. So, at this point, we're going to go into your childhood, or into your early life. But I do want to take a second and say hey to the chat because I see some peeps out there. Brand new Thurg, welcome. Straight Sith Male, of course. SSM, the one and only. Functional, greetings. Duck Dog, Sir Adamantine, Philip Daniel. Wouldn't be a show without y'all. Miss Becca Furley. That's right. She's here. Means popped by. Your boy Pat. Hey man, what's going on? Let's see. Philip Daniel, of course. Old friend of the show. Yeah. Was one of the first people that was. He was the first. Actually, the first ice cream interview was with Philip. So.
Yeah, I remember that. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was awesome. And when I finish with 100 people, I'm going to be reaching back for some of the people that I have interviewed, and we're going to talk about different stuff this time. And RVA, DAR, or DAR, as I'd like to call you, hey, and JP. All right. If I missed you, I apologize. It's not personal. Johnny Bonsaco, I just caught you, buddy. All right? Nothing gets by Irate. But I should be a school teacher, shouldn't I? I should teach high school and throw erasers at motherfuckers. Anyway, moving on. All right, so Aspie, is there a food from your childhood that you hated, and now as an adult you find that you actually like it?
Here's a weird one: gravy. when I was a little kid, I for some reason I just couldn't stand gravy, like mashed potatoes and gravy. I
Mhm.
loved mashed potatoes. I just didn't like gravy. But when I reached a certain age, I all of a sudden just loved gravy for some. I loved gravy for some reason. It switched around, you know. I mean, there's not a lot of foods because because I have a pretty wide palate, but the one food which I've always hated my whole life for some reason was beans. I could not stand beans. You know, as
Mhm.
I got older, I'm now able to tolerate them. Like I'll eat them on certain occasions, but if I get like black beans and like a Chipotle burrito, you know, because I always get the same thing when I go to Chipotle. You know, white rice, chicken, no beans, salsa, mild salsa, corn, lettuce, guacamole, and cheese. Same thing every time. Sometimes, and I reached a certain point where I am used to get, you know, black beans, you know, because I wanted to have something with a little bit more
Mhm.
fiber in there. But you know, but I just couldn't do it after a certain point because you know because here's the thing about beans with me. I like beans to like a
No, hold on. You don't want to come off sounding like a legumophobe now, do you?
I don't hate whole legumes. I mean,
I'm
I
fucking with
like.
you, man. I
I
couldn't
know, I
waste that
know.
joke. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. You know what's funny? I like peanut butter, and peanut butter is actually and peanuts. I did not know this are actually
Legumes.
legumes.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah. So if I need to eat some beans, peanut butter. I love waking up in the morning to some, you know, peanut butter and jelly peanut butter and banana on some toasted whole wheat bread.
Nice.
That's really good.
Peanut butter banana is the one of those.
But you don't like that?
Oh no, it's you know, the exact opposite. It's fucking good. It's good stuff. It
It's
sticks with you,
great.
man. And it tastes great. So, all right, who would you say is the most influential person on you as a child? And
Most
what,
influential person.
yeah, and what kind
That's
of
a
kid were you?
um I was autistic, so I think that tells you everything you need to know. Uh Actually, I'm joking. I was relative when I was like a first grader. I was relatively, when I was a little kid, I was kind of crazy, you know. None of the adults knew how to handle me because I was autistic, you know. I can remember at one point in my when I was a really young kid, one teacher, I was being a little rowdy one time because I was a pretty rowdy kid. But then this woman took me to a back room and she, tried to hold me down. And when you're autistic, you barely like being when you're especially at that age, you barely like being touched, let alone,
Mm,
held in place. So she tried to hold both my hands. So she tried to hold me there in the chair, and I took my fist up, and I can remember just pounding on her fist, trying to get her off of me because it, was freaking me out. And of course they sent me home. Because the second you hit a teacher, it's pretty much. I think she was more mad at them than they were me because I was just a little kid. I didn't really know right from wrong. For
right.
some reason but I can really remember that. But then my mother sent me to this other place called. I'm not gonna give the name of it, but it was this other school where I live, and it was for special needs kids. And my mother found this teacher who was just absolutely amazing. She understood kids like me, and so she was able to, fix me up a lot, But it didn't end after her, After when I got into like the first grade, I was still a problem child, and she sent me to like the church we used to go to has a private school there, and they sent me there for like my first grade year, and I used to be sent to the principal's office pretty much every single day. And it was at this point in my life that my parents started, to medicate me. They put me
Right.
on one medication. It made me lethargic. They put me on another one. It made me hyperactive. And I think they found one medication which actually worked and made me focus in school, but it
Mhm.
made me aggressive. And I can recall, and my mother, I don't recall this. It's one of the few things I don't remember from that time in my childhood. Well, actually, it's one of the few things I don't remember at all. Is that I picked up a chair and threw it.
Wow.
So yeah,
That doesn't
no
seem like you
medication
at
for me
all,
after
man.
that.
Yeah, exactly.
So
That's totally against your nature, from what I know
yeah,
of you.
exactly. So, and after that, my parents just said, you know what? No more medication. We are going to raise him without any drugs. And it's pretty much worked up to this point. I've had some problems, but it was after my
Mm.
first grade year that my parents actually sent me over to a public school. I'd never, I'd probably been to a public school, but I didn't really think anything of it because I was in second grade. So I'm one of those people who's not very observant to what's around him.
Mm.
I'm kind of stuck in my own world, and my mother called me a sort of Forrest Gump type figure in that I just take whatever life throws at me. So I'm like, okay, I'm here. So although I can recall when I never played with the other kids during recess. I was always that kid. I would always go to the swings and I would just daydream all throughout the recess. There's something about swings to me which I just find relaxing. I
Mhm.
mean, there's a swing in our bed for years. We still have a swing out in our front yard right here, but I don't use that one anymore because I'm like 150 pounds, and I doubt the olive tree can really handle my weight. But there's a swing in our backyard which I still can sit on for hours and just listen to music because to me that's just a play. It steadies my mind.
Mhm.
So, but when I was a young kid, I did relatively well in school. I got all A's, maybe a B here and there, mostly in English because I wasn't horrible at English. It just
Mhm.
wasn't my strong suit. You understand? It just wasn't what I was good at. Math, on the other hand, I was really good at math. Like when I was in high school, I don't think I studied for a math test one time, because they gave us homework every single night, and I practiced the problems so much in not only in the school, but not only at home, but in class that I actually did, relatively well, that I did, very well in those subjects. And when I got into college, my GPA went down just a little bit. That was from the occasional B I got, and I right now in college I have like a 3.78 GPA, but
Wow.
it might go down a little bit more because I moved over from being a music major, which I was exceptionally good at, to being an accounting major, which is something which I can do, but I'm not like the best at it. So yeah, and pretty much leads it up to here. I do still have some mental problems, but the thing with mental illness, it's just not something. I'm still that type of person who just takes whatever life throws at them. So I just get up every morning. Some people complain about depression. I never found it really it to me it was just not something which I ever felt really the need to complain about, because it just felt petty in my eyes. We all have our problems in life. All you
Well,
can really do is just
and
wake up and keep going.
to be fair, back in the day, when the term autism, I think the people have because of the stigmatization of it from like back in the back in when it first became a diagnosis, right? That it was equated with something like a like the person was broken, or it was like a severe deficit. Whereas really the deficit may be social to some degree, but when it comes to brain power and shit, it's like I have yet to meet anybody that's been labeled with that label that was dumb. I've met many morons that were labeled normal. So that's
I
that.
think
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think a lot of times, autism can be described as being sort of being stuck in a cage. You have you're very intelligent, but you can't. Or a better metaphor would probably be a really strong computer with a really bad monitor. Like the actual computer works fine, but the monitor is not.
Benefit.
It's glitchy. It sometimes doesn't show the right thing. Sometimes doesn't click on right away. It's sort of like, while a lot of people with autism are very intelligent, it definitely does not show in real life. And you can't really blame people back in the 1700s and 1800s for not understanding mental problems, because this was a time when everybody was ultra religious. Nobody understood it. Just
Right.
nobody understood it. And they just tried to throw everything they could at what it was. Some people thought it was demons. Some people thought, some of the ways that they treated mentally ill people, kind of make me make me cringe or even make me want to throw up. You know, the lobotomies, the electronic treatment, which I think they still use. I don't know if it's effective or not.
ECT.
But
Actually, I know a little bit about that, and in certain like extreme cases of vegetative like depression, it can be very effective. But other than that, they rarely use it for anything but that kind of shit. Now and I've man, it's like night and day. I've seen it work on people like that. You know, as soon as
like
you know
chemically.
what it is it's like it almost like it's like a reboot, right? And their memory's a little fuzzy, you know, for the past couple of days, but they know that they were feeling horrible, and now they feel better, and then they, you know, they work out of that. The whole Hollywood has done we'll see, back in the 50s and 60s, I mean, it was pretty fucked up. You know, they were zapping everybody, man. So, you know, but they had to figure it out what was appropriate.
Really, I thought they were only zapping gay people.
Well, you know, and then there was that. You know, homosexuality was considered a mental illness up until what, like the 80s. So yeah,
It was. I think it was classified as a mental illness until the 1980s, but they eventually felt that it wasn't something that, you know, should be labeled as a mental illness because, well,
right.
technically,
Yeah.
because, well, my opinion of homosexuality, I got to be careful what I say on here because I could get myself in real trouble. But my opinion of homosexuality is that it is kind of a mental illness, but it's not a mental illness in the way that, you know, schizophrenia is a mental illness, or in the way it's not a public health issue. You know, being gay is not really anything. I don't think it's, you know, anything bad to be, you know, it's just how you were born, but I don't really know how to interpret it any other way. Hello?
I thought, yeah, I'm listening. It's an interesting, you know, everybody's got a different perception about that, you know, that kind of stuff. And, I don't know, man. It's like I've been past the stigma of it for about, I don't know, 30 or 40 years. I've had gay friends my whole life, so.
Me too. I mean, I'm a music major, so it's kind of hard to be homophobic when you're a music major. So.
Yeah, I was in the arts too, so it's like, you know, and it's just well, I think the arts are a way for misfits to express themselves, and I'm not saying that gay people are misfits. I'm saying that perceptually we can be isolated because of the way that we interpret and express our lives, right?
I see.
Right. I don't know. It can get, you know, very deep and philosophical with that, right?
Yeah, it can be. Did I say something wrong or something?
No, man, not at all, man. This is the whole reason I do this thing, man. Is like I find out who people are in this process, and I've always been fascinated talking to people. I've always, you know, I've always found something interesting about everybody I've met. I'm serious. It's just you got to talk enough, and you got to ask the right questions. And speaking of, all right, so what about? Do you have like a holiday or a Christmas or a special or carol, some type of, you know, thing that brings a certain special meaning to you?
I don't really. I'm trying to understand the question. What do you mean?
Like, people have favorite holidays, right? And I don't know. For me, around the Christmas time, there's a couple of carols. If I hear the right, you know, and Uzi always wants to watch, you know, It's a Wonderful Life. Something, you know, something that kind of, you know, is there to put you in the spirit that. You know, and I also love Halloween, you know, so there's, you know, horror films and shit like that.
Yeah, I really like the feeling around Christmas. Christmas is a very it's a very unique time in the year because everybody, you know, feels cheery. You know, everybody is, you know, well, they try to be, you know, the past couple years. You know, I've seen crazy stuff on the news, which, you know, can oftentimes dampen the holiday spirit. But they call it the holiday spirit because it's a unique time in the year. You know, everybody's, you know, looking forward to the Christmas time. You know, I think it's just something to look forward to. I mean, personally, I don't really understand. A part of me doesn't understand it, you know, because, you know, again, I'm not the most socially, I don't understand certain social situations that well. But when I look at the holiday spirit, I can kind of understand why the holiday time seems so cheery. You know, I mean, of course there is, of course, the religious aspect to it. You know, I am a Christian myself. The idea that it's the birth of Jesus. You know, it's a time to, you know, to them it's a time to celebrate. To us it's a time to celebrate. You know, and it's a happy time of year because we're remembering the birth of a savior. So, I mean, little kids might be excited for the presents they're getting, but when you're an adult, I think Christmas takes on a whole new meaning. I think the reason why Christmas is such a special time is, you know, everybody gets to be with their families. You know, everybody gets to, you know, come back and talk with one another, and there's something that's very, you know, special about getting together with the, you know, the people who you love and the people who you care about. You know. And that's just, while I don't completely understand it, I'm starting to slowly understand it as I go later in life.
Cool. So if you could go back in time and talk to little Aspie at the age of 8, what would you say to little Aspie?
I would say, first I'd say, take your helmet off, because I was always wearing a helmet at that age, and then I would why would I say to little Aspie? I would say, you know, really, I don't know what I'd say to myself. I've never really thought about that. That's actually a really good question. I'd say when you eventually start your YouTube career, don't be a giant notice me senpai. Okay? Don't go around to other YouTubers begging them to come on your show, begging them to come on your channel and you know, the talk, you know, because that's not, because I did that for a long time. You know, when I first started my YouTube channel, you know, after a while, I eventually became a giant notice me senpai. You know, I would beg to come on streams. You know, I mean, I eventually became a meme with, you remember the white YouTuber, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me in the stream, and then, you know, in Gemini and all those guys. Man, it's been so long. I actually talked to the white YouTuber the other day. He was in Ghastly's Discord server, and I got the talk. We hopped into the to the waiting room, and we were able to talk with each other for like 30 minutes. And, you know, he's doing very well in life. So, but then again, it just seemed, I would tell myself, listen, work on your channel. Don't work on, you know, trying to, you know, complain. And because I was a horrible complainer, I would constantly complain about, there was few nights where I threw massive fits about people not willing to come on my channel, and I just look at those and I think back to those times and I just cringe, because I realized how, you know, irresponsible it was. You know, if you're wanting to come to a famous YouTuber, you need to talk to them like they're a person. You don't want to go up and talk to them like they're famous, like, because how I communicate is I would always come up to people and I'd always talk to them in, like, you know, massive, you know, paragraphs. And I would say, you know, I would tell them all about myself, and I would come at them very, very strongly, you know, because even with another YouTuber, you know, Irate Bear, he's now Irate Alex now, because he gave up on the politics. I remember Irate, I came at him, he said I came at him more strongly than any person from before. I mean, you can go back and watch the old debate on my channel. You might have to scroll a little ways down, but you can find it. And he says I came at him more strongly than any person than before. And I didn't understand that, you know, because when I came at him rather light compared to some people, you know, especially Naked Ape. The whole Naked Ape, I don't want to get too far into the Naked Ape thing. You know, it kind of, you know, it started out with me losing my temper on him one night, and then the thing about Naked Ape is that no matter how much you throw at him, he's got a whole lot more to throw back at you. I mean, you know, crap just started flying, and I did everything I could to get him to try to get him to stop and to try to fix what I did, but it just didn't work. And then I spent the next couple months trying to, you know, apologize to the guy, trying to get him on my channel still, even though I just couldn't stop. And eventually it all culminated in our Kumite match. We went on a Kumite match together, and the guy just and I acted very spurgy at first. I was like, I cannot believe you read my DMs. Let me calm down. And they were all like Tonka Saw, and everybody who was in there at the time was just roaring with laughter from how, you know, I was acting, you know. And I
Right.
had completely was spent after that. And Naked Ape just sort of said, listen, dude, I don't like you. Find somebody who's interested in what you are and leave me alone. And that really kind of hurt, because, you know, I kind of, because I realized that I had fought a losing battle, and I just
Right.
said, you know what, good, so long. And and you know, here's the thing. I believe, whether or not you believe God is real is up to you, but with me, I believe that if God does exist, he definitely has a sense of humor, because the second I left that Kumite match, they the stream was taken down. I did not report it. I did not mundane mat the channel, just so you all know. I did not flag it. It was taken down to the copyright, but to my bad luck, somebody managed to wanted some guy, I think it was like it was some alt-right channel, some genuinely alt-right channel. I don't use that word fragrantly, that re-uploaded it to his channel, to a second channel. But eventually, but to my luck, he his channel got taken down, and so did the stream. So every single, every little remnants, you know, every little bit of evidence that ever existed is gone. You know, people say on the internet, whatever is on the internet stays there. Well, in this case, it's gone, you know. And I consider myself kind of lucky. But when I look back on the whole Naked Ape situation, it was a big learning time for me, learning how to not, you know, just be a spurg, you know. We eventually, you know, we actually did eventually talk through it, and everything's better now. But yeah, it was an interesting time in my time on YouTube, but I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Let's see. What was the craziest thing you did as a kid?
What was the craziest thing I ever did as a kid? Oy, that's a rough one. Does 17-year-olds count as being a kid?
Sure. Yeah. Remember, it's all about your perception.
Yeah, here's the thing. I was actually 5 years ago. I was in a 5 or 6 years ago. I was in a horrible motorcycle accident. Like what happened was there's this giant hill by my house, which I had gone up quite a few times, and I was like, oh, I've gone up it, you know, and I eventually got too comfortable. And it was kind of ironic, because the day after that, I was supposed to perform in the big sanctuary at my church, at the church we were going to at the time. And I can recall that I went motorcycle riding out by my house, because there's a whole bunch of fields by my house. And I went up to this giant hill, and and I decided, well, I've gone up this thing, might as well try going down it. And honestly, I don't remember anything from that. After I can remember getting up to the edge, but all I remember next is flying through the air at one point, and then next second I'm in the back of a van headed to the rehab hospital. It was a weird time. But apparently what happened was, when I started going down the hill, I was in second gear, but then I tried to hit down the first gear. But when I hit down the first gear, it went into neutral, and I lost control, and I fell going like 60 or 70 miles an hour. You know, I broke the second to last vertebrae, the dins. You know, I shattered my hand. I have a metal plate in my hand as we speak. But I luckily, by God's grace, I lived through that whole ordeal. So I'm here now talking to you. I still have some neck problems, but other than that,
Dave asked
pretty
something
much
about. He wanted to know what about the why you were having to wear a helmet at the age of 8, or that you mentioned earlier.
I wasn't
just
like
caught
a
that
helmet
question.
helmet at 8 years old. I used to ride bikes a lot when I was a little kid. And I am, and the thing is with me, I always forget that my helmet's on. So I would just walk around the house. So I would just walk around with it. I'd for hours after I had, ridden my bicycle, because I just forget it's there,
Right.
If you wear something long enough, it eventually just becomes a part of you in a way. So I just forget it's there. I wasn't like wearing I wasn't wearing a helmet as in like, I had like epilepsy or anything. I mean, oh, here's the funny thing. When I was a little kid, my parents, when they sent me to that, school for special kids, they sent me on a short bus. I did not know it was a short bus until I was like, 13 or 14. And I just one day I'm walking, I'm like, my parents put me on the short bus. What the heck? I was like, oh my gosh, I was on the short bus. And it didn't make sense because some of the kids on there were, they obviously had mental problems. I can remember this one kid, he was kind of chubby, and he would get out of his seat and he would start screaming, trying to escape. And it was, but usually when I was on the short, and I can remember that, they used to put like this, like, like when you go on like a roller coaster and they put the thing over you in order to hold you down in your seat.
Right.
Well, I am that's what they used to do for the special kids or the kids with mental problems, is they used to put this like seat, this like thing over them so that they didn't, try to run out of the bus or cause problems. And that's what I had over me. I never understood why I had that on until I got like older and I realized that I was on the short bus.
They harnessed you on the short bus, man. Dude.
Yeah, they did.
That's rough. That sounds rough, to be honest. Damn. So, all right, let's shift gears. What about girls?
Girls. What about girls? I don't know much about girls at all. I don't think any guy does, but I especially don't know anything. I've never had a girlfriend in my entire life.
Okay.
The thing is that the reason why I've never had a girlfriend in my life, a lot of kids in high school are, having girlfriends when they're like that age, but I always found it to be absolutely, just pointless because, and I didn't find it very attractive to have a girlfriend in high school because, I'm just going to say it. Girls in high school are absolutely insane. Okay. they haven't grabbed, many of them have just started their periods. They haven't completely grabbed the reins on the dragon. So their hormones are just starting to run. They don't know how to, handle it. So I just felt like, I was just something that I did not want to be a part of. I can remember when my sister started her period, and she, I can recall that I'd have to drive her home sometimes, when she didn't have a driver's license at the time. And, she was always like, either like very, she always looked angry or she'd start crying or something. And it's kind of freaked me, and it kind of, cause she'd be cramping, and it freaked me the heck out. But,
right.
but you get used to it after a while. But the reason why I didn't have a girlfriend in high school or now is just seems pointless. I'm not even going to be here where I live. We're moving, my family, we're going to be moving to Tennessee not long from now, maybe like in less than a year, because, they're wanting to sell our house that we're in right now and move over to, Tennessee. Cause basically I'm not going to dox myself here, but I think I can give a general state. Cali. They want out of. We're going to be refugees from the Democratic Republic of California. Is essentially what's gonna happen. But we want out.
You'll love Tennessee, man. It's laid back. Yeah, it's beautiful. The southeastern United States is gorgeous, and the people are laid back. Yeah.
I like that, I also want to try a pawpaw. You know what a pawpaw is?
It depends on where. Yeah, a fritter, a corn fritter.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, not a pawpaw is like a A pawpaw is more or less a pawpaw is more or less a thing that is a fruit that grows on a tree, and it's not usually sold in stores because it goes pretty quickly. But apparently it's like really sweet. It's got like these large like black
Oh,
seeds, and it's really good, and it's actually really good.
I can't remember what they call them in my locality. All right, so all right, let's talk about what about alcohol or other substances? Have you ever been drunk or fucked up, as they say?
I've been tipped. The closest to drunk I've ever been. My aunt lives in Montana, and I went to go and spend like a few days, like a week with her. I drove all the way from California to Montana all by myself, so
Oh
that was a
wow.
fun drive. And I did that on my own because I like driving, so I did that on my own fruition. And I drove all the way up there. And the last day I was there, I decided that I would they drove us down to a restaurant. I decided I would get one beer, but because I don't drink, I had no idea what type of beer to get. So I got so I looked on the back of the menu, just trying to search for some random beer, and I saw, and something caught my eye. It was called an IPA, and I know nothing. And I'm like, what's this? And my uncle goes, oh, that's an IPA. It's really good. You'll like it. And I'm like, okay. So I ordered the IPA. They brought it to me, and I took a few drinks, and I'm like, geez, this is strong. I don't think I really like this. And they go, don't worry, when your food comes, you'll like it a lot more. So they brought the shepherd's pie. So when I bit into the shepherd's pie, then and then I started drinking the IPA again, and it made it about 500 times worse. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so bitter. But because I had drunk that, because I had, drank that, but because I had essentially paid for it, I was paying for it myself. I was like, you know what? I'm going to drink this whole thing. So I drank the whole 12-ounce IPA in like less than like 15 minutes. And I was really tipsy after that.
Mm-hmm.
I felt sort of lightheaded, I called my mother on the phone. I felt very loose. She even said while I was talking on the phone, she's like, man, you're talking really loud and you're slurring just a little bit. So I think you need to. So you are just a little bit tipsy, but it went away after only like a few minutes. I also don't drink a lot of alcohol because I always found that sometimes I get like a really bad headache, especially if I drink like wine. If I drink wine, like white wine, I always get like a bad headache. I don't know why, but I do.
It's probably the sugar in it. That happens with a lot of people, actually. So let's talk about your relationship with music. What's your earliest memory of music?
Oy. What is my earliest memory of music? I guess, when my dad, because we grew up in a family, when I was a young kid, my parents played nothing but, worship pop worship music. And I still love worship music to this day. And, they used to play the radio all the time, and I would sit there and listen to that all the time. I mean, there were a handful of songs which I really liked. Like there's this one, which I loved because of the piano riff that was at the beginning. It was like, I liked that. And that's one of the first things. I also really like this one country song, but if you're going through hell, keep on moving. That one. And I can recall that I can recall that song being one of the something, but it was just individual cases. Because when it comes to me and music, I'm not like the type of guy who just listens to a whole bunch of stuff. If how I listen to music is I find like one or two songs which I really like, listen to those for a long time, and then move over to another. I now have a long list of songs on my iPhone which I listen to on a regular basis. And if you look at through the history of what I liked over the years, I can remember I've always loved like giant voices, like big giant vocalists, like Whitney Houston, Celine Dion, people like that. Originally, what I really liked was Queen and Journey. I wanted to sing. It reached a point like in Brown Junior High where I wanted to be able to sing like that. I wanted to be able to sing with that like really high tenor voice, that that type of singing. And I used to sing for hours upon hours, to try and improve my voice, improve my vocal cords. And it wasn't, and I think I started getting vocal lessons my senior year of high school. Yeah, I waited a long time. And I got better vocal lessons at CSUB, because the woman there taught me how to sing opera, and that really helped with my voice as well. So yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, what about the first concert you ever went to? Live music concert.
Geez, that's a hard one. One of the first concerts I went to was like this Christian band called Sanctus Real. It was a band. It was like this Christian group, and I went there when I was like 8 or 9 or 10 or something.
Mm-hmm.
They were pretty good, and I remember that concert rather vividly. I can remember the guy's voice, the lead singer's voice was very tired because he'd probably been talking on the radio all day, so he was cracking a lot. But that was the first concert which I really went to. One of the best concerts which I've been to was the Zac Brown Band. Because every one of them were extremely talented musicians. So watching them, just on there, pounding away at the guitar, it was like 2.5 hours, and it was by far one of the best concerts I had ever seen. After that concert, I was just like, am I sure I want to continue on this road down music? Because these people are way above my level. And it was pretty incredible to watch, and it was pretty incredible to watch,
Mm-hmm.
And it was in certain I can't remember other concerts which I've been to. I also went to another concert. It was another Christian group, a man named Toby Mac. Toby Mac, Third Day, and Michael W. Smith were all playing together. And that was a very cool concert I went to. But the first concert I can remember was a Christian group called Sanctus Real. They had a whole bunch of other Christian groups behind them opening up, but I don't remember any of those.
Right. So yeah, got that. So were they a rock band, or you know what I'm saying, or were they more folky, or were they more
Christian
popish?
Rock band.
Yeah.
Christian rock band. They sing this one song. One of the most popular songs is one that goes, "Everything about you, it takes my breath away. Hallelujah." That was one of their songs.
Wow. And you can tell this dude's got perfect pitch, because you were in perfect key.
Well,
Crazy,
I don't think
man.
I don't think I have perfect pitch. I have perfect relative pitch. Like I can, within a scale, I can tell where to go. But if you ask me to sing something that is very, like, how should we say it, chromatic, which is outside of the typical scale, I start having a hard time. But eventually, I can remember the pitches, and because I can recall when I was a senior in college, I sang this really difficult piece called "The Serenade for Tenor Horn and Strings" by Benjamin Britten, an English composer from like the 1940s and 30s, and it was one of the hardest things which I've ever done in my life. But I got through it. I learned it within like 3 months, and I learned how to do it all from memory, and I performed it, and I got pretty much an A on the recital. I even got a standing ovation from like 19 people, so it was pretty cool.
Sweet, man. So, all right now, what are you listening to? What's your favorite? What's your go-to music?
What's my go-to music? I usually listen to what's on the recently downloaded page on my sometimes I'll sometimes go onto YouTube and I'll look up something there.
Mm-hmm.
Let me go through my history just a little bit. I'm trying to back up South Park. No. Been watching a lot of South Park videos lately. I also watched this one thing called Happy Tree Friends about traumatized me. It's terrifying. Oh, there's something I've been listening to every now and then. You ever heard of this band called Steel Panther?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I love Steel Panther.
They're great.
I know one of their songs. I can sing one of their songs.
Nice.
Let me get out the guitar real fast. Let me just play just a little bit of it for you guys. I would give you the stars in the sky, but they're too far away. If you were a hooker, you know, I'd be happy to pay. If suddenly you were a guy, I'd be suddenly gay. Because my heart belongs to you. My love is pure and true. My heart belongs to you. But my cock is community property. Oh my God.
They're a fun band, dude. Nice.
There are so much. If one band, that's one band I want to see live at least just once in my life, and they like to pull fans up to sing songs with them. So hopefully, maybe I'll get up there to sing a couple songs with them. You never know.
Well, I'm an old school fan of Zappa, right? And you know, comedy and music, was essential for him. So yeah, I love comedy and music put together. It's good stuff. That was funny as shit, dude.
Yeah, exactly. For some reason, when you put like a piece of music, when you put like a piece of comedy or a joke to music, it just makes it funnier for some reason. I don't understand why. I guess it just goes through people's heads differently.
Yeah.
But another guy, which my parents really like, I was introduced to him by my parents, was this guy named Rodney Carrington. He's a country singer who sings comedies songs, and this guy has like one of the he wrote a song called White Shirts and Rain. You know, that was pretty funny. I love that. That was awesome. All right. So yeah, I'll not just Steel Panther, but I've been listening to let me go to the music app real fast because I need to because I actually need to see it because I have really bad short-term memory. Also some worship music there. I downloaded a Metallica song called Sad But True. That's pretty good.
Oh yeah.
Lewis Capaldi, that Scottish pop singer, choir music, Miles Away by Winger. I have the worst. It's funny, people don't like glam metal. I, for one, actually do like some glam metal. You got to give Winger the respect they deserve, even though they're pretty much the Nickelback of their time. They were still a pretty good band.
Great White was up neck and neck with them, buddy. Trust me. Yeah, Winger wasn't that. They weren't shit. There were some really good guitar players in that whole era, the metal era, right? MTV and all that. What I call moose metal, right? Because they would moose up their hair and make it like, look voluminous and shit. But yeah, and that kind of went into grunge.
Yeah, grunge. Yeah, I mean some Nirvana I am like, but speaking of Nirvana, did you see that horrible cover that everybody's talking about?
No.
No, it was like Muddy something, but anyway, he was singing about this song by Nirvana called "About a Girl." But beside the point, grunge. I like some grunge. I did like some Soundgarden. I learned how to play Black Hole Sun and some of this stuff. But overall, grunge is kind of a little bit too depressing for me. But I also do like some modern what is it called? Metalcore. I like some metalcore, like a Kill Switch Engage, and for some reason I really enjoy it when bands go switch between distorted vocals, and clean singing. I find it rather enjoyable.
Oh, what do you think about the stuff Poppy's doing now?
Poppy? Who's Poppy?
Yeah, that Poppy.
I'm sorry, I don't know who they are.
Okay, she was like a YouTuber. She's got this history. She's doing like this Japanesey kind of metal, and then this weird poppy stuff, and it's I don't know. I like it. I kind of like it, like baby metal, that kind of stuff.
Oh, I like that. I like one song by Baby Metal. It was something about a fox. If you translate it to it's like Kitsume or something, Kusite or something. I'm not a weeb, so I can't tell you the name exactly, but it was a pretty enjoyable. I mean, the breakdown is just intense in that song. But yeah, I like some metal. I like some metal like that. Right now, what I've actually been listening to a lot is Dragon Force. I love power metal. Power metal is like my at this point my bread and butter, because I just love, because power metal, because a lot of those hard bands, people don't like punk bands and stuff. They don't like virtuosic players, but I love people, the singer is good, the guitarists are incredible, just they're all good musicians. I love power metal, and I know a lot of people say it's like ultra cheesy, like Sonata Arctica and these bands, but the cheesiness to me is it just makes it better, because it doesn't have anything to do with it, because a lot of that like deathcore and stuff, it's all cultural. There's not a lot of musical it's for them, it's a clear form of expression that a lot of people like, but it's not very musically advanced. I like very virtuosic players, and power metal definitely shows that.
Sweet. Yeah, and we were talking earlier about music. We kind of touched on what happened in the '70s, and I don't think it was just cocaine. It was like a fusion of everything, right? It was like the '60s took what was the '50s, and they added their influences to it. Classical was in there with the Moody Blues, right? And then once the metal, came about with like Sabbath, and there was a couple pre-metal songs, and then it just opened up, and people were playing fusion jazz, bands were forming around based around classical music, right? And so it was a very productive. And then disco, which was. I don't know. I hated it back in back when it was
my
a
dad
thing.
loves it though.
But now some of it's not shitty. I'll say that. So there was a lot of creativity going on back then, man. You had Fleetwood Mac. It's the stuff I was listening to when you hopped in the server. So yeah, it was an excellent era for music, and it was interesting to see where music went. Because it got so complex. When the punk scene happened, it was like a totally reduction, right? And it became very simple. And everybody in their garage could play, every song on the album, because it was 3 chords.
Exactly, like the Ramones.
Yeah, I love the Ramones. Though. They're so fun. I'll turn you. Yeah, go ahead.
The Ramones were a fun band, I don't know what to say about Green Day, because one of my old videos was against Green Day, because Green Day was one of those bands which, went ultra woke, and I don't like that, so I made a video about it. You should see their music video, for this one song they wrote. It was like, I forgot the name, Troubled Times. It was a song called Troubled Times. It was like, what good is love and peace on earth? Yeah,
punk rock was co-opted by communists, man. Real punkers were all anarchy. You're on your fucking on. It's like some people believed it could work. Definitely.
The Sex Pistols.
Yeah. And there's a nice resurgence now. There's a great band from UK called Slaves. The singer sounds a lot like good Johnny Rotten. But yeah, you're right. It's not it's melodic. It's more of that kind of straightforward, everyman kind of thing. So all right, so let's move on with the questions. What about movies? What's your favorite horror film?
Horror films. I don't watch a lot of horror films, because I'm not exactly a big, because I'm autistic, because obviously I'm very sensitive to stuff like that. But the one horror movie which actually caught my attention was The Exorcist, because The Exorcist is probably one of it's unique in that it doesn't rely on jump scares, because a lot of movies like The Conjuring or what's the other one, or they rely mostly on jump scares, and
right.
And movies like Friday the 13th, Freddy Krueger, or all those are, Halloween, they all rely on, just blood and gore. They're not actually in my eyes, they're not actually that scary. But The Exorcist is actually scary because it's not like one of those movies where it's like jump scare, jump scare, jump scare. It's like one of those movies where it's actually it actually goes into like borderline real life themes. I mean, besides all the supernatural stuff, the sort of a mother trying to care for her child even though she doesn't know what's wrong with her, trying to love her kid even though her kid's going insane. A father who's having difficulty with his faith. His mother having trouble. I think he actually, when they were trying to exorcise the girl, he actually had a mental breakdown when after the demon inside her said, your mother sucks cocks in hell, or something along those lines. Yeah, The Exorcist was just a very, very interesting movie theme-wise, because it went into things which I think a lot of people can relate to. It didn't rely on jump scares to be scary,
Right.
There's just something that was very disturbing about the film, even though it did not, make you jump one time.
Yeah, and I tell you, man, the TV series was fantastic. It only went 2 seasons, man, but it was excellent. They had a grasp of that, right? And really, man, that's what you're talking like jump scares are really just startling people, right? Boo, that kind of shit. And I think that's cheap. There's a really good horror director or whatever will use a jump scare when it's appropriate. Right.
Exactly.
And it's almost like writing a symphony. You got to know where to put the kettle drums and the cymbal crashes, or
Exactly.
So.
Yeah, it's one of those things which is just very, you got to know, like some things do very well with jump scares, like movies, like video games. Like I watched playthrough of the video game Dead Space, and there's a lot of jump scares in there, but I think it plays it well because the overall theme of the game is terrifying. And you're stuck on an alien spacecraft. You don't have any way out other than fighting your way, and it's just scary all the way through. I mean, yeah, it relies heavily on jump scares, and it can feel cheap at times because of all the jump scares, but overall the theme of the game is actually really scary.
Yeah. Do you play any other kind of games?
Well, I've never played Dead Space, but my list of games that I don't play a lot of games right now, or really any, because I'm still technically in school and I still got work to do. But the one game which I've been playing, which I'm going to play eventually or finish, is Kingdom Hearts 3. I've always had typical autistic kid loving Kingdom Hearts, but I there's something nostalgic about the game which I just really like a feeling I like about it. But the third game it got too easy. Kingdom Hearts 1 was kind of difficult, especially if you put it on the expert level. The large enemies, those fat ones, can kill you in like one hit. But you go to but you put it on but if you put it on expert in Kingdom Hearts 2, you can pretty much reduce the game to being really easy as long as you stay in one level for a long time and just constantly level up. That's what I would always do. I would just find an area where there are a lot of enemies. I would leave the world, come back, go fight through again, and I would and after I reached a certain level, I would just move on again because that's how I did games. Well, you know what I always say? Think smarter, not work smarter, not harder. That's what I always say.
What about sci-fi? Are you a fan of science fiction?
Science fiction, I mean, some science fiction is okay. I mean, I think I kind of like The Fifth Element, and there's a few. I'm trying to think through all the science fiction novels or science fiction movies which I've seen. And personally, I have not watched a lot of movies lately. To be honest with you, I mean, some of them some sci-fis I can enjoy. Some sci-fis, I guess I can enjoy them based on the themes, but I don't really know a lot. So
Well, all right. So, how are you primarily? What are you doing now to entertainment personally? What's your go-to?
Just watching a bunch of YouTube videos, Well, one YouTuber which I really enjoy is called Life of Boris. He's Slavic. He's from Russia.
And cheeky breaky.
He's just wacky,
Yeah.
I love his channel.
Yeah, I watch him too, man. He's funny as shit. He's crazy.
Hey, can you entertain the crowd for a couple seconds? My bladder's killing me. So.
Oh, your back teeth are floating, huh? Yeah, sure, man. Take your quickie, and we'll be back. We'll be finishing up soon. So
all right. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
You got it, buddy. And now time for the gallery, Americana chat, my friends. What's up? I'm just sitting here, just having a good conversation with Mr. Aspie, man. He's always fascinating me. So no problem, Mandy. I subscribe to a thing called Shudder, and man, yeah, cheeky breaky, exactly. That's what I said, Third. And Shudder, that Beelzebub is a great possession movie. And it's like I think it's Mexican. It's like it's a hybrid American Mexican movie, I think. But oh man, there's a really fucked up scene in it. It was just incredible, and it's worth the whole movie. And that 0.0 megahertz is a Korean horror film. So if you're into K horror, J horror, A horror, like they call it, it's good stuff. So. That's something that I know a little bit about. Yeah, a little horror film freak. All right. See, man? Would you do a quarter tap or did you go for broke?
I don't really recall. I probably didn't. I probably did not. I probably just whipped it out and whipped it back in. I can't really recall.
All right, so we're getting a request from Sir Adamantine in the gallery to talk about how you and I really met each other for the first time with the Andy Worski tweet thing. You remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. I compared him to TMZ, and he he lost it in the DMs, and I thought it was necessary, because this is just out of the blue, if somebody's gonna act like, the reason why I showed his DMs was because I felt like somebody's gonna act like this, I better bring it out. So I made the video. He blocked me on Twitter, and he bad-mouthed me on the Kumite, and he eventually came on, and I remember all that. That was a pretty wacky day.
Man, indeed. And then so we were like trying to do like this group therapy, get everybody, kind of hash shit out thing, and I had sent an invitation. I forgot all about it. To the white YouTuber, and he showed up, and that was at a point where Whitey and Gemini, man, they would like mute people or eat potato chips and just do this incredibly annoying shit. And I think Andy was mad at Whitey, and I can't remember why, but and so Andy was talking and was trying, he was trying to hash shit out with, and then Whitey mutes him. And Andy got pissed and left, and wouldn't come back. And he was cool about it afterwards. But it was good to see you guys, kind of get that hashed out.
Yeah.
I mean, because by today's standards, man, that was not really that big a deal. You know what I'm saying? Man,
of all the drama that Andy Worski has managed to drag himself into, it was relatively light.
I would say. Get the fuck back! Just saying.
Stay back! Stay back!
Stay back!
All right.
Yeah,
Oh,
I got some new ones. So yeah, got my little bell.
Where
Yeah.
now Andy Worski kind of came back. He removed the picture
Yeah.
from his YouTube, but he's still uploading. And recently he's gone full Coomer and decided to start reviewing OnlyFans accounts. What he says
To be
he's
honest
doing
with
now,
you, it's the best thing he's done since the old stuff with Chris, in my opinion. Or maybe some of the at the height of the Bloodsports JF era. You know, there was some pure gold up there. So, yeah, cam girls and shit. That's so funny.
oh yeah, I remember. I remember he. You know what's funny? He reviewed iDubbbz's girlfriend's
Yes, ma'am.
OnlyFans account, and I think he just completely exposed her because apparently there's not a single nude in her entire OnlyFans account. You know, she's actually everybody was calling iDubbbz a simp, but if you think about it, he actually wasn't simping as hard as most people think, because even though she has an OnlyFans account, she only has pictures of herself in like thongs and stuff. No fully nude stuff. No, nothing like that. Although the review of Trisha Playa's OnlyFans account was pretty not cringe, but it was cringe hearing about what she was doing on her account. So yeah. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, it's man, it's crazy. You know what I'm saying? So, all right, what about, all right, so you have any scars or tattoos?
Yeah, scars or tattoos? Well, I have a picture of I do have like 2 scars on my forehead from when I had the neck halo on for 4.5 months, and I have this scar down my wrist from when they had to do surgery on my hand to put the bones back together. It was like one of the world's most screwed up jigsaw puzzles ever. So yeah. Those are the only 2 scars which I really have. I mean, I have a handful of other small ones, like this one on the back of the top of my finger where I sliced into my hand with one of the knives while I was cooking bread. You know, it literally, I could not stop the bleeding that day. I just could not stop it. So eventually I was able to put like a Band-Aid on it, and days after I had it technically started to seal up, it would still bleed, and but it eventually completely closed up, and now it's just scar tissue. It's weird because the original skin, which actually cut into, is actually there. It was just like, it's actually still there. It's just now it just looks like scar tissue now.
Right.
But anyway, yeah.
So what about piercings? You get your nipples pierced?
Not my nipples. No, my dick's pierced. I'm joking. I don't do piercings.
Prince
It's
Albert,
just
I got you.
tacky, in my opinion.
Okay, fair enough. All right, I like asking people this question. In 40 years, what will people be nostalgic for?
What will people be nostalgic for? I suppose we're going to have to look through, because obviously I don't think people will be nostalgic for the skeptic community because everybody's pretty much forgot about them. You know, they're still, a lot of the channels like Jeff Holiday, Sargon of Akkad, Crowd especially, are still doing all the stuff which they, like. But I don't know. I think what people will be nostalgic for, maybe in the music scene, and this will shock a lot of people because it's sort of the opinion of my old guitar teacher, and I actually kind of take after it, Justin Timberlake. Justin Timberlake, even though he from the look of it, he seems like he's going to be a rather influential musician because, after NSYNC left, he still remained, working as hard as he can. He was in The Social Network, he did some acting, and he seemed like he was. So overall, I think people will remember. Justin Timberlake will be one of the musicians everybody will remember. Maybe Adele, maybe. I mean, she's pretty talented too, but I don't know. But I honestly, it's kind of hard to say what will be remembered 40 years from now, because I'm sure back in the 70s, people were saying that Led Zeppelin wouldn't be remembered, but here we are today, or even the Beatles. I mean, the Beatles. Yeah. I mean, during Beatlemania, I bet a lot of people were saying, "Oh, nobody's gonna remember this in like 50 years."
Sure.
Nope, we still all remember it. So it's almost impossible to say what will people be nostalgic for 40 years from now. If anything, hey, think about it. It's like the stock market. The stock market's always going up and down. No, everybody says they can beat the market, but in fact, they really can't. There's really nothing like the coronavirus. Nobody knew the coronavirus was going. There's just some things which you cannot, expect to happen. Who knows? Maybe tomorrow a musician will come out and will do something that's so notable that they'll be remembered, 30 years from now. Or somebody will create a new creation. Somebody will invent something which will be noticeable, which will be notable. But honestly, we can't really tell what people will be nostalgic for until it's 40 years from now, when everybody's talking about a certain thing or making videos on another video channel, because YouTube at that point will probably not exist anymore, or at least it'll exist in another capacity and will be a different name, and it won't be as big as it was now. I think hopefully BitChute takes over, because BitChute is a little bit more open to letting people make videos on its platform. So yeah.
So this is the portion where I do what's called the one of my influences pertaining to this show is a guy named James Lipton, who used to do a show called The Actor Studio, Inside the Actor Studio. And he would always ask everybody he interviewed, he would ask this list of questions. And so he passed away this year, and in homage to him, I picked it up. And so are you keen? Just say the first thing that comes in your head, okay? What's your favorite word?
Creem.
Okay. What's your least favorite word?
Michael.
Okay.
My mind is going everywhere.
That's fine. No, that's cool. That's why, man. That's why I like you.
If your name's Michael, I don't hate you. I promise you. It was just the first thing that came to my mind.
That's all I like it. So what turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
Nature.
What turns you off?
Concrete.
What's your favorite curse word?
Cunt.
What sound or noise do you love?
What type of noise do I love?
Yeah, what sound or noise do you love?
The sound of ocean waves.
What sound or noise do you hate?
The sound of a jackhammer.
What profession other than your own would you like to attempt? Or
musical composer, because
right.
I'm going into accounting.
Right. All right. What profession would you not like to do?
Anything involving sewage.
Okay. Yeah. Pipe duties can be an excursion into
pretty
filth.
shitty job.
Yes, exactly. All right. So, and the last one is: if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say to you when you arrive at the pearly gates?
You're fine. Get in.
There you go. All right. And moving on. So, folks in the chat, this is your time to start thinking of questions and queuing them up. Put a couple of question marks in front and behind the question, so it will kind of stick out to me. And I'll keep talking with Aspie until we start seeing a couple pop up. So, if you could go back in time and spend a week with anybody, Aspie, who would it be, and why?
What was the question again? Sorry.
If you could go back in time anywhere, okay, and spend a week with anyone out of history, who would it be and why?
All right. Let me that's a hard question, because there's just so many people.
Well, and you could speak the language that they, right? You know what I'm saying? It'd be like communication wouldn't be a problem or any of that kind of shit.
Well, I guess at the top of my head, it would have to one of the composer. It had to be a composer. The one
Hmm.
composer which I'd really like to talk to was Benjamin Britten because he sounded like, he knew a lot of things about composition which I could really learn from.
Hmm.
So he said, Sir Adamantine said, "Why, Aspie? Why? What did I say? Did I say something wrong? What did I
No,
say?"
I don't know. I don't know what he means, but it made me laugh. So, um, yeah, he may be nudging you and saying, "Hey, you know."
Yeah.
So, all right, what job do you think you would suck at?
Um, anything. Well, the job, something involving, having to work retail. I'd probably suck at retail because, with retail you got to have patience with people,
Hmm.
and I don't have as much patience. So I'd have so I'd event and also I get very frustrated and I lose my cool very fast. So I'd eventually be going like, "What you know what? Fuck you. Get out of here." Click. I'd lose my temper probably really fast. So no retail.
All right, so you said you might want to do a couple of songs before we finish up. So while we're waiting on some questions, you want to do one real quick?
Sure. All right. I'll do one which I always like to do,
W.R.
which is
Costin.
a
This is yeah. You'll see why in a second.
all right. This one was written by Bob Dylan, but was actually it's called "To Make You Feel My Love." It's a love
Yeah.
song. Here it
Don't worry
goes.
about copyrighted material.
When the rain is blowing in your face and the whole world is on your case, I can offer you a warm embrace to make you feel my love. When the evening shadows and stars appear and there's no one there to dry your tears, I can hold you for a million years to make you feel my love. I know you haven't made your mind up yet, but I'll never do you wrong. I've known it from the moment that we met. No doubt in my mind where you belong. I'll go hungry, I'll go black and blue. I'll go crawling down the avenue. There's nothing that I wouldn't do to make you feel my love. The storms are raging on a rolling sea and on a highway of regret. The winds of change are blowing wild and free. You ain't seen nothing like me yet. I could make you happy, make your dreams come true. There's nothing that I wouldn't do. I'd go to the ends of the earth for you to make you feel my love. To, to make you feel my love. To make you. Feel my love. that song.
That was fantastic. Thank you so much, man. That was really good. All right, so Kevke wants to know what your favorite color is. Hey, Miss Kevke, big hug, girl.
That's easy. Blue. I love the color blue.
It's a beautiful color. It's the color of our planet. You know.
Yeah, kind of a bright. I kind of like bright. I kind of like them bright blues, like not really bright. Yeah, mid blues, medium blues. Not super light or super dark. I like if you get super dark, that's borderline black. So I like kind of mid blues. That's what I
How about
like.
cobalt blue?
Yeah,
that's a gorgeous blue, man. I love that. Yeah, it can be sexy on the right woman too, the right redhead. It really, I mean, serious, man. It really can bring it out. So, all right. Any more questions, people? Let's see. We got the favorite color. Making sure to get everybody. Yeah, hugs to you, Miss Kefke. Kefke is a good egg. We like her. Everybody dug the music, dude. And that's your incredibleness, right? That's someone asked what made you incredible, and I said you're about to hear. So you did good. So we're at the place, all right, that we're back at the YouTube thing. We kind of been going back and forth to it the whole show. Who would you say is a criminally undersubscribed YouTuber that you want to, somebody that you want to kind of put out there?
Well, I think the YouTuber which I wish everybody would kind of subscribe to would be the Dark Conservatarian. He's still kind of he's kind of a small political YouTuber. He's slightly bigger than me. He's only got 600 subscribers, and I really like his content. He makes some pretty interesting content. Even if you don't agree with what he has to say, his there's sort of a dark aesthetic to his channel, which I think and the overall thing I think a lot of people will find enjoyable. So go check out the Dark Conservatarian if you want.
All right, Doug wants to know what your favorite meal is.
My favorite meal. Oh, that's easy. Pizza. I love pizza. That's partly why I work at a pizza joint. Is because I have a love for pizza.
Nice. Do you do the blues? Stan also wants to know.
Do the blues?
Yeah, like Blue on Black by Kenny Wayne Shepherd, or something blues oriented.
I know the Blue Shuffle. I'm trying to recall any blues song which I might know. I mean, I've listened to a couple, but I tried actually learning that one song by what's that guy, Robert Johnson? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you're going back to the roots of blues.
Yeah. I tried learning that, but it was so weird to learn because the way the song is structured, the way that it's performed, it's very hard to play actually. And the thing is that in his you can't play along with the recording either because his guitar is not tuned to perfect pitch, because we have we have electronic tuners where we can tune to like perfectly what A is, but they can't. So yeah. So that I'm learning I've learned a little bit of blues, but I can't recall anything at the moment.
You should check out band ZZ Top, Everything Before Eliminator. That's some good hard, really weird, kind of funky, kind of a comical thing. There's a not serious about themselves vibe that I love about them, man. So yeah. Who on YouTube do you think is overhyped?
Overhyped.
I mean, just ridiculously overhyped. You don't get
it. That's all hard. What about that one really obnoxious guy? I've only seen like videos about him, but Morgs. Some of those YouTubers who are Morgs is just really obnoxious. He's like he he left high school when he was like 15 years old to be a full-time YouTuber, and I'm thinking to myself, why? And his parents are involved, and maybe it may have been cute when he was younger, but he should have stayed in school. Because here's the thing, you cannot, and he's made his family a lot of money. They're millionaires because of him, so of course his parents are going to keep going along with it. But he's but they overall I'm sorry, I was distracted by the chat. I completely forgot what I was talking about.
Third asked you, what do you watch The Masked Singer?
Oh, I've seen I've seen a little bit of it. It was originally in Korea, and I actually saw like this one guy called I forgot his name, but Hwaiyin Yu or something, and he was like really good. Like he could sing like really high. So I've watched a little bit of the show. Sarah Palin was on that, right? She did Baby Got Back. Sarah Palin, the Baby Got Back on The Masked Singer.
Oh, Lordy.
I like big butts and I cannot lie. You other brothers can't deny. When a girl walks in with it with a waist and a round thing in your face, you get arrested. Yeah, I changed the last word. I love that song. That's like one of the first songs. Actually, that when you asked me what is my first musical memory, my dad, that's like the first song my dad ever taught me. I love
really?
That. That is like, it is one of the funniest things,
That's kind of cool.
Pretty hilarious. One guy, Tippy Cat, said, I agree on morgues. And it's like, I agree. We're good to see somebody understands what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like,
Trippy's fan, bro. Yeah.
Some YouTubers have, especially YouTubers, some YouTubers have talent, and it's such horrible when you go on to and you see like a really talented musician who doesn't have a lot of subscribers, but then you see like this idiot who just making stupid, like Logan Paul, Jake Paul, or one of these guys who just kids like to watch them because it's monotonous, stale feel good content, so they just and those guys get millions of subscribers while like talented musicians, storytellers, people with actual talent get nothing. Right. I always hate it when that happens. Yeah, Thurg, she's saying that while dressed as a giant pink teddy bear. Sarah Palin and a giant pink teddy bear.
That's funny.
Singing Baby Got Back. And it's not, trust me, you don't have to be high to see that.
I bet. All right, so the way I wrap it up is, do you want to talk about any new content, stuff you got in the works, anything you want to promote while you're here? Because this is the place and time to do it.
Of course, take a look through my back catalog. I have a lot of videos that you might find interesting. It's sort of all over the place. If you like music, you can check out my covers, I actually wrote not long ago a worship song, which I actually was exporting as I was about to come on here. And I also have another video which I'm starting to work on, which is called I don't know if I should, sort of axe it, because it was a story from 2017, but The Root made another video on it. It was called Black Man Kills 4 White People Over Racism. And I was going to make a video talking about that story, and giving my opinion on also the reaction to the story by the people reacting below in tweets was just made me they're calling this guy who killed 4 white men like a hero, a king, let him go, he's innocent. And I'm just thinking to myself, the society, and I was going to make a video on that. I was going to say some things about the black community, but I think I should axe it because of that whole thing that happened in Georgia. That guy who was chased, that jogger who was chased down by those white, because that was absolutely ridiculous.
Well, there's a lot of confusion about all that shit. I try to just say, man, avoid it, because I don't know how to process it. It's not good, for sure.
Yeah, it's not really good, because some people are saying that that the because what happened was that they kicked this guy. He's actually a schizophrenic, and the black guy was killed before white people. He went over to visit his friend at a Motel 6 in Fresno, but at that Motel 6, apparently you had to pay a visitor's fee in order to get in to talk to the person you want to talk to. When the security guard called the manager, and they both tried to get him to pay for the visitor's fee and sign in, but he wouldn't do it. So, but after a long fight with the security guard and his friend, they eventually got him to go over there and do it. But the manager said she felt threatened by him, probably because the guy was crazy, and they kicked him out. And after that, he shot the security guard, and then he decided to shoot 4 more white people because they were white. And this guy had been talking a lot about race war and calling white people devils on his Facebook account. This guy was just plain insane, So there's even video of him on a news site, him saying that white people need to pay reparations or else they're all gonna die. It's just a horrible thing. I might make a video either talking about the Kraut story, or a video about Count Dankula's Discord server, because that one that's a video in all itself. Because Count Dankula, if you've never been to Count Dankula's Discord server, it's one guy said, I'm looking at the chat, sorry, because because his Discord is absolutely insane, man. I left the Discord originally not just because people were abusive towards me, but because they started posting scat porn, and I just went, oh no, I'm saying that's one type of shit posting I do not want to be involved in. So I left. So,
nice.
I wish I could have gotten some audio of what these people were screaming at me, telling me to kill myself, saying I don't know if they said I was retarded, but they were definitely abusing me in the voice chat and in the regular chat. I decided I wasn't good because, they, in a video that Scrubs made about his, YouTube, about his Discord server, he said that filming the voice chat was not allowed in the Discord server because there's a chance that Count Dankula might have some legal issues. So I was like, it's just not worth it. I'll make a video about it, just talking about it, because I like Count Dankula. I love Count Dankula. I think he's a great guy.
He's funny as hell.
His fans are insane, man. I
think that, there's exactly. They call it Discord for a reason, man. I think, but then again, it's like it's the place to do it. You know what I'm saying? It's the home of gay ops, as they say.
It is the home of it's the home of autism. Essentially, it's
Indeed.
like 4chan on steroids in there.
Yeah,
and I have no
exactly.
problem saying that. People, if you want to make autism jokes, you have my full, because I love, because when people say something's autistic, I don't get offended by it. I look at it and I go, yeah, that is pretty autistic. I will agree. I know. I like that sort of stuff. Yeah, I have a really bad sense of humor, and I love stuff like that.
Well, cool.
Right.
All right, so the links to Aspie's channel and to his Twitter are down below in the description. So please hook up with this dude and give him some loving. He's been around. I've been wanting to talk to this guy for a long time. Thursday, Big Fat Brian and I are back, aka the Butter Baron. And we'll be doing a Netflix show called How to Fix a Drug Scandal. And this thing is fucked up, and y'all need to hang out with us as we break this movie. It's 4 episodes. It's about the drug tests, and I don't want to go into it now, but it's definitely a humdinger. To quote me now, I'm going to use that term a lot now, humdinger. And on Friday night, of course, Creem stream. Next week, we got the one and only Turish, also known as Mr. Ting, will be sitting in this seat. So Aspie, say goodbye to everybody, and we're going to be out of here, okay?
All right. It was nice talking to you all. I really appreciate you having me on here. And peace out, Space Cowboy.
That's right. Take it easy, man. And thanks for coming. Like I said, man, you did me a huge favor, and I appreciate that. All right.
You're welcome, Irate. I'll talk to you all some other time.
Every week on Friday, midnight Eastern, the Creem stream, the weekly world news for YouTube. Sundays, 5 p.m. Eastern, the ice cream interviews, fascinating people, fascinating people. Thursdays, 9 p.m. Eastern, hot takes with the Butter Baron, watching horrible shit so you don't have to. Subscribe to Irate Prostate now.
Thanks for coming, folks. Hope you enjoyed it. I did. See you next time.